fellow Battletech enthusiasts and miniature wargamers. We're now going to discuss stripping bad acetone. Here I've gotten some mechs that I've purchased. They've come in through the mail. They're metal. And the first thing I noticed, I knew because I bought them on eBay and I saw their pictures, is that their paint jobs are not something that I like. Or they've got like this heavy metal paint and things like that, and I just don't like them, and I'm going to need to strip it off. And it's probably a very difficult paint to strip off. You notice here I don't have my gimbal yet, so that's why I'm doing this one-handed, except holding the phone in one hand and stripping or cutting the packages open with the other. So some of these will be one-handed, some of these will be two-handed. Later on I'll have the gimbal later on in this video. So now I've opened these and here they are. And so there's this Zeus has got like some sort of gold metallic paint on it. So very hard to deal with. It's not clear, it could be testors. And then these other two are also horribly painted. There's this Atlas. It's got purples and pinks and cyans and all kinds of strange bright colors. And this Wolverine also is kind of pretty bad, strange colors and bright colors. And I just don't like that. I kind of like the military type look or a house colors look and not these strange bright pink and blue colors. So now I'm going to go into the garage and I'm going to strip the paint off. And so here I'm going over into my little garage lab work area where I've got some yellow jar of old acetone and some various other things here relating to epoxies and whatnot. But here I've also got one of these really useful plastic boxes to the side where I put right to the side of those mechs. And here's my acetone. I found that these make great packages for putting, if you're doing like silicone casting, you can try that. And I found that resin casting your own bases is pretty useful and easy to do. So you can make infinite bases for yourself, and I've done that for several of my mechs, make resin bases for them. So now I'm pouring the acetone into the little really useful box. It's not an airtight seal, but it doesn't need to be because it's only going to be there for a few days. If you wait for like a week, the acetone will evaporate. I'm now put it in, make sure you have secondary containment there. Here's my acetone, my mech in the acetone. And you can see that immediately the paint is starting to come off. You can see the acetone is immediately turning colors. That's a good sign. If you put it into a solvent and you don't see that, it means you picked the wrong solvent. It's not doing anything. So immediately some of the paint should start getting into the solvent and showing evidence of coming off. Okay, now here I've got like this, I call this the body tank, where it's like just kind of my grimy used acetone. I can only fit like really only one or two mechs at a time into the really useful box. So what I do is I have this body tank. Now this is a couple days later, or a day later, it's already kind of really, you can see the paint has come off. And I've also put my other mechs into that body tank, which we'll kind of look at soon. And here I'm putting the lid back on. I'm not wearing gloves, but I should be. But acetone, it's getting a little bit on your hand. It's not so bad. Just don't often get it. This one is where I put the other mechs. I just dropped them into my old acetone. And this is when I use my acetone, I pour it into that jar, and then I kind of pre-soak. I can pre-soak some mechs in there to let them come out. This is like yet another day later. I'm now using these pliers to pick the mech out, because you don't want to really handle it, even with rubber gloves. You don't want to excessively handle the acetone because you might accidentally have a hole in your glove or something like that. So here here you can see the paint is still on, but it's partly coming off. That's normal. You don't expect the metal to come out shiny and metal colored just from soaking it in acetone, because acetone is not good enough. Also, acetone is something you do not ever want to heat, and you do not want to have it in your living space. It needs to be in the garage, assuming your garage is well ventilated and far away from any flame sources. So you should not do it, like for example, next to a gas heater, water heater, because the spark can ignite the acetone fumes. Acetone has a very low flash point, very high vapor pressure, and very explosive. It's like gasoline. You don't want to if you wouldn't do open gasoline somewhere, then you wouldn't do acetone there either. So anyway, here this is now a week later. I have these really long pliers which I'm going to use to pull the various mechs out of the body tank. I actually, after soaking that one Zeus in that small, really useful box, I threw it into this body tank with the other ones. And now I'm going to pull them out and see what state they're in. That Zeus is probably ready. The other mechs I'm probably going to put into that really useful box and top it off with acetone, just to kind of let them do their soak. And maybe a day later or two later I'll take them out and wire brush them too. So now here I've got my mechs, and I pulled here's the Zeus. I brought it inside the house. This is now, I've also quickly rinsed it with ISO before I brought it in. I'm now going to wire brush it carefully here. And the paint isn't just coming off easily because it's some horrible paint, but it is coming off. And you'll notice the white paper that I found these notepads to be really useful as base plates for this wire brushing, because the paper holds up pretty well to wire brush strikes. And it also shows you how much paint is coming off. So now you'll see here that more and more paint will come off this mech as I keep brushing it. And eventually that white paper is going to be covered in metallic paint particles that are coming off from this speck. And then you'll see the status of the mech after. I do a little bit of, I've edited away some of the wire brushing, but not most of the wire brushing. So you can see that you do need to rub it quite a bit. This is also why you don't want to start with a mech that has really long, thin appendages until you're a pro at this. So I picked a Zeus because it's really easy. It's just one piece, at least for the variant that I have here. Some have arms that you have to glue on. The other mechs that I picked are also intentionally easy. They're single piece mechs, like that Wolverine and that Atlas. And I picked them intentionally when I bought them. I bought them as bad paint jobs, knowing they were bad and I'd have to strip them. But I knew that they would also be easy to strip because they were single piece castings. So here I am. You can do it with multi-piece castings, just that they will likely fall apart in the acetone, or the glue joints will be weakened in the acetone, and then you do the individual piece parts one at a time, carefully holding them with a pair of needle-nose pliers as you scrub them. And of course, for long guns like on a Mad Dog, you have to be very careful about how you scrub. I have to apologize here. I've got the mech off the screen here because I need to just look at it really close with my eyes. And so I was studying it here, but I'm basically looking at it and studying it to see where the paint remains, like between the legs and things. So now here I'm trying to get the paint between the legs because the brush isn't really getting there very well. And there will be some paint that I can't actually scrape off and remove. So if you really want to remove all the last paint, which is not fully necessary, then what you can do is put this back in fresh acetone, and that will loosen up the last of the paint that's between the legs. It's hard to get to. But I'm just wire brushing here, and I'm going to just accept it as is, because I think I've gotten like 95% of the paint off. And there's a little bit that's in the cracks between the legs. Anyway, let me know what you think of this video, and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please go hit the subscribe button at the and that way I'll be motivated to make even more videos.